Okay, we're creating a new live stream here. It should be going now.
I thought I heard an echo on you. Yeah. I was thinking about getting a KVM. You know what that is, right?
A KVM, I think I forget. I know a KTM is a dirt bike.
No, this man don't need a dirt bike, man. I had enough trouble bowling yesterday with this welt that's on my wrist from 1979. Anyway, it's one of those things you plug into your computer and you can remote it, over like Cat 5. So you could set up a whole workstation elsewhere in the domicile and just remote over to it. I'm thinking of doing that here.
Oh yeah, KVM switch. I do remember what that is. Haven't talked about one in a long time though. Yeah, dude, I really enjoy having decent computers around while I'm operating. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with them.
Yeah, it's true. Like what you're doing now with the live stream. That's great. That's really great. Well, if the band opens up, you might want to advertise that on Q Argument Z or something that the live stream is up. That way anybody who's got enough brains to be on 10 meter AM, if the propagation doesn't seem very good, they can put that up and see how it's working here. But I don't know. I don't see any reason why the band wouldn't be gangbusters right now. It's kind of punky, but the first day I got on here and got across, it didn't open up until about this time.
So I never made a thread in there before. What would I do? Like, say, we're on 28975 and there's a live stream going. So if you want to get on there and see how you're coming in to my FN20 LR station.
Yeah, there's a thing in there that says start new thread. And you could just put 10 meter AM live stream running right now, and the participants, and you put your receiver's grid square in, or you'll scare off a lot of people with that grid square stuff, but that's okay. If they're that dumb, it's fine. And say it's running right now with the GMT, and I mean, you could even do it on the AM activity now thread. That would be a good place to start a new one. Now you got to multitask now. Oh. I'm going to fire up my sub receiver here. Oh, wow. I got a sub receiver. There is currently no large slop buckets. None. I wonder if something funky happened. Oh well, who cares? Multitasking, when you don't really do anything quite right, but you do lots of things at the same time. Approved by middle management, along with Casual Fridays, since 1990. Yeah. Multitasking.
I forgot to add the damn link, and now it won't let me post again in that quick of succession.
Yeah, well, there's a thing with like dots there. It brings up what you want to do. It allows you to edit post.
I need to delete the post. Can you delete the second post?
No, it won't let you do that, I don't think. You could just put like do post or put a period there, just a space holder.
All right, there we go. I put it in the AM activity now. I'm not too good at this. If you know another better place to post that on QArgumentZ, I mean, you can just grab the hyperlink and do it. I don't know. I'd feel weird going on there like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. Yeah, as far as a place to put it, that's, as far as I know, that's the place, because a lot of those other places, there are, you've got mental landmines there, like that Facebook thing. So no thanks.
Damn, I had to edit that so many times. I typed currently on 29875.
Yeah, who knows? I might have said that. I might have said that to you. You did that last time too when you posted something. It's a mental block.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do too many things. I'm trying to rush through it, you know. But again, you know, I'd feel so on any other message board, like, you know, you're with your friends, you can make a mistake. They'll be like, oh, like he just typed it wrong, this and that. You're on QRZ, dude, people are going to rip you apart. They're going to be like, this guy, how could he possibly be on 29.870? This doesn't make any sense. What is he doing? Is it, harumph.
Yeah, well, you'll get there someday yourself. It could happen to you. Yeah, it's a good song lyric.
Oh. The noise just went away, too. I need to see...
You know it's self-imposed. You just have to find out where. Man, you got a lot on your to-do list there, Billy.
I know. And I've been working for a while, too. Usually I have, like, years of downtime in between. Our list is a walkthrough right now. Just kind of sucks because all the jobs are in like Linden and, you know, down at that big generating station and stuff. Man.
Oh, what do they call that plant? There's a name for it. You mean the one on the turnpike?
Yeah, they just changed the name of it, and there's a couple different like things that I've seen. Like different contractors call that site different things, so I think it's really in a state of flux. The other thing about that site is last time I was there was to repair a big giant, I'm talking like building size transformer. That whole site is sinking. The whole thing, it's sinking like a lot. So what happened is the wires coming up through the ground to hit the buses and this transformer, they just keep sinking and sinking and sinking. The transformer isn't sinking as fast as the wire in the conduit, so it basically pulled the bus off the transformer. Huge oil leak, this and that. They got the oil cleaned up, and then we came in and we had to cut pieces of bus, bolt them on to extend the bus about a foot so we could grab these wires and get them back on there with a spud wrench. They could turn this crap back on, but I'm sure that's already happened again since I've been there. It's really scary what's happening, how fast that place is sinking. W2BTK.
W2BTK from W2VW. Wow. Wonder how old the transformer was. I remember now. They make co there. They used to call it the co-generation plant. But if you think about it, what they're really making is CO.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, cogen. That's what the old-timers would call it. Now, I think it's definitely got new names and things now, but yeah, you say cogen to any of the local 102 guys, it's the Linden generating plant.
Yeah. You ever look at the nameplate on that transformer?
Dude, I was not walking around that area. Like, for real, I was not walking anywhere except where I needed to be.
Oh, it's like my old basement.
Pretty much.
I don't know about some of this stuff.
I mean, it all works.
Yeah, some of it still works.
Well, that's like the cogen, you know? Just kind of like, yeah, don't go over there. We're working over here, you know, just there might be PCB oil on everything, but we cleaned it up pretty good. You know, like don't eat your lunch today.
Yeah, if you eat your lunch, put some gloves on first. Don't even bother cleaning your hands. Just put the gloves on over the PCBs and pick up your sandwich.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, Billy, that's inspirational that the amount of ease that you have had getting your current antenna system working. That's kind of silly.
It really is. It's working well. I kind of reconfigured everything too, so I could do pretty fast changeovers from the vertical to this antenna. I guess just for the recording, I'll just state I'm using the receiving antenna is about a 140-foot doublet with the tuner completely jumped out, and it's working well.
Yeah, so you got 50 ohms into a ferrite balun. Don't tell anybody you're using ferrite. Oh man, there's enough of that on that site.
Nah, I'll tell them I'm using ferrite. The only person I'm a little bit hesitant to tell that I'm using ferrite is Chuck. KW Chuck.
Yeah, I got news for you. If he gets on here, he's going to be like, what is this?
Exactly. No, last time he told me, he's like, yeah, no, it works well, but, you know, there's non-linearities inherent to using ferrite and all that kind of stuff, and there's other ways to do it. I was just like, man, I think I'm going to keep using this stuff. If Chuck says that there's better ways to do it, I'm gonna just keep doing it this way because it works.
You're going to keep doing it that way because you don't have the time to mess with it. That's the bottom line. You know? What is it? Better is the enemy of good enough. That's my problem.
Yeah, exactly. This might be a good time to wander over and put the back of my hand onto that ferrite. I'm going to assume that it's just room temperature, but I could be surprised.
Yeah, well, let's see. You got a safety choke in the amp, but you may want to knock the high voltage off before you touch anything on the antenna system, just because.
Yeah, all right. I'm going to go check the temperature of this balun. I'm expecting it to be okay. I'll just take my time unkeying here before I go wander in there and turn off the high voltage and then check to see the temperature of my balun. W2BTK.
Yeah, you made a long buzzard transmission a little bit ago, so it should be up to temp. I don't think you can punish it any more than you are now. This is W2VW here in southeastern Pennsylvania, in the borough of London Grove. Checking out the 76-mile-long path to W2BTK's residence up there in New Jersey on the top of a mountain. near 1,000 feet above sea level. I'm only 430 feet above sea level. Down here in the valley in Pennsylvania. And I'm transmitting on my bent monobander. It's not bent because it's broken. It's bent because it's lashed up in storm mode. I actually pulled a feed line tight on it so that it can't crash into a tree that's holding it up at 75 feet. So that's my station information. Running wonderful advanced modulation here. And I'm QCing my amplifier as well. It doesn't smell funny. And if you can hear this, Billy, I am still 15 to 20 degrees off of your azimuth because pulling the antenna tight like this moved it a little. And it's also not level at the moment. So there's even more, there's probably a few more dB to be had from this circuit here, which is just wonderful. All right, by now you may have remembered to turn your high voltage back on. W2BTK from W2 Very Weak.
Yeah, man. So that's good stuff. You got 40 dB SNR in my receive currently, which you'll see on the live stream. Everything is calibrated decently. When I key up, my SNR isn't correct because the noise floor drops, but that's fine. And the balun was, yeah, it's not room temperature. It's hotter than room temperature, but it's not like super hot. There is a little bit of heating going on, which is fine. It's not scaring me, not giving me pause or anything. It's just a little bit of heating. So I'll remember that. And the other thing is, remember when I used to have all those Triple H problems with the Triple H buffer and this and that? I noticed that if I just go along, before I start operating, I go along and I tape up all of the cracks in the back of that door, like just put tape over them well. Dude, the negative pressure inside that big blue is just so crazy. It would suck my hand in once I got all that stuff taped up. And now I can talk a lot longer, and then once I unkey, the temperature just starts plummeting. So I can listen to someone talk for a minute, and then I'm ready to go with another old buzzard. And I just don't really see the Triple H too much anymore after taking care of just sealing that whole box up. It's really, really effective. W2BTK.
Oh, that's great. That's good. That's a nice thing to have, is enough airflow on your amplifier. Well, I had to go back to a cardboard mock-up for what I'm using now. Can you figure out what I'm doing here? What I'm using for a transmitter?
Well, I know you're probably not using your Yahoo, but you might be.
All right, that's a good answer, because if you can't tell, there's less positive peaks, way less, because this thing is run up closer to its limit. Now, I'm running the FT1000D as in dog, which it isn't, until you have to work on it, into my 30S1.
Yeah. It sounds good. It's like, that's pretty standard Dave sound, that 1000D, you know? I know you can't do the stupid modulation with it, but stupid modulation is, I don't know. It's a little stupid, but it's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Except for when there's like really bad QSB, which happens up here. But you know what? I've been running it, the 500 up here, quite a bit over the last few years, and People don't ask for fills or any other thing. So that level of positive peaks it seems to be working. This thing here, it makes a little bit over 100% positive at this level. So that's fine. It works. I've got the 500s. Okay, if I don't stop saying I'm going to have to get off the air. I think I told you this yesterday. I got the modulator power supply chassis apart here, doing some maintenance. That one relay that was in there really started getting on my nerves, and before I break something, so I decided to work on it, and it was going to be quick, and then it turned into, you know what, I don't like the way this thing is set up here in the rack. I'm going to extend every single cable that goes on and off of the thing so that I can move it in different places and still have it work. Like come out the front of the rack with a shelf, flip it on the side, or in case I have to do that, which of course means I'll never have to do that. W2VW.
Yeah, I know that game. It's not that much fun. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like the way I had my shack set up at first when I was running out of, the shack, everything was like that. If I had to do anything, it just sucked. You saw me struggling pulling the Viking out of the rack. That sucked. But yeah, the Viking shouldn't have to move. It got WD-40 and all that good stuff, so it's really, really, really working well. I doubt I'll have to pull that out. And then the modulator has always been easy to work on because it's completely open. It's at the top of the rack. In that nice, like, 4 or 6 space aluminum, just rack holder thing you gave me, honestly, it's awesome in there. So I can just get a ladder or a chair, turn everything off, and stand on it, and then just work from the top of the rack, and the entire modulator is just there. Except, well, the rest of the modulator circuit is just there. The actual modulator is out here where I am, and it's just a Crown audio amplifier. But you know what I'm saying? The mod transformers and all the stuff like that is just right there. I just reach in from the top of the rack. I could get in the sides. Same thing with all the chokes and stuff. It's just kind of all open, which is really dangerous, but you can work on it.
Yeah, you don't want to get anywhere near that stuff. It'll throw you across the room. That's a really bad voltage to get across, especially if the modulator's on, because in case you're still holding on to it, you'll change your, whatever it is, 600 volts DC into like 2,000 volts.
Yeah, exactly. But there's some fail-safes. I have one very dangerous switch in the transmitter room back there, and it's not like momentary. It's just like an on-off toggle that will key everything up. So that's the only switch that will actually turn stuff on that I can walk away from and get hurt. Every other way that high voltage turns on, anything keys up, anything, it's all dead man switches. Like if I walk away from this spot, everything goes dead. So there's just the one testing switch, but I'm pretty careful in there.
Yeah, it's good because it looks scary, because it is scary. Well, I haven't been shocked by anything except for really silly stuff like I think I told you this. We have one of those high voltage monitor boxes over at West Orange that goes to the primary of the transmitter. It was Telemundo's transmitter. It's a really old Hallmark Millennial, which was basically just a revamped version of their old IOX transmitter, and it was running, I think it was like a 200 kilowatt ERP. So there wasn't much coming out of it. It was maybe 30 kilowatts, something like that. Not a lot. And the little high voltage monitor box is something that they didn't make. It's made by some company and they sell it. It's orange. You've probably seen them. And it's got a little pot on the front of it. Well, the thing was faulting out. They had changed some distribution transformer somewhere, and the voltage dropped below the threshold that the thing was set at when the transmitter was installed over probably an Empire, because it was there first. They put it in, never hooked it to an antenna, never did anything with it. When I got there, I turned it on for the first time in years just to make sure it would still work. And I used to run it every 6 months to the load. And then they ripped it apart and they put it over at West Orange. So this poor thing had a really tough life of sitting around doing nothing, which isn't good for it. Anyway, the thing dropped below the threshold, and there were no tools there back then. And I had gone up there to do something that had nothing to do with this, and found out that the transmitter wouldn't run. I think I went there to turn it on and just run it. So I really didn't have very many tools with me. All I needed was a screwdriver. Anyway, I had no way to turn the pot. It turned out the pot was dirty was the problem. And or the threshold, I don't know, because I couldn't poke it. I didn't have the test equipment there. After that, I told them, look, if we don't put a toolbox there, don't expect me to work on anything over there, because it's stupid. Bad enough I'm there by myself, which is a violation of company rules. And then they were like, okay, you know, so they gave me a crummy toolbox and all the crummy tools, which are better than no tools. So anyway, I unscrew this plastic nut on the front of the thing that holds the pot in there so that I can grab the shaft, because it doesn't stick out enough to turn it by hand. If you don't have a screwdriver, you're dead. So I unscrew it and I go to turn the pot, and the body of the pot is hot. I don't know what was on it. I think it would have been 277. And it gave me a little buzz, you know, like a pretty good buzz. But I was only hitting it with like the very tips of my fingers. It was pretty easy to recoil. There was no way to grab it harder. But man, did that tick me off. And I took the thing apart after ordering a brand new one and sticking it in there. And they used the body of the pot for a junction to save a terminal strip.
That's, yeah, see, that pisses me off too. That's at least, yeah, that's insane. I'm just sitting here thinking like, yeah, I see stuff like that too, but there's no high voltage. It's like, we'll see some high current, but yeah, it just, 277 sucks. It really, it's definitely worse than like a 110 or 120. You know, I've got scars on my elbow when I was a first-year apprentice, and you know, I had only dealt with like 240, 120 stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, it's a 277. I thought he was joking. I was like, 277? What are you talking about? It's like, oh yeah, no, go up there. Like those 277 is brown, orange, yellow. And I was like, oh okay. And I'm like going up in the lift that I'm not used to driving, and I get up to this junction box. We had just pulled these wires in, like literally 15 minutes ago. Somebody was in the electric closet landing stuff, and they just turned it on. You got wires hanging out of this box. They're like, oh yeah, go up there and splice those. I'm like, okay. Go up and just brush my arm against, I don't know, it must have been one or two of the phases. So if it was two, it was 480. If it was just one and a ground, it's 277. But it went in my elbow and went out my hand, and I still have the scars there. I mean, I remember when that first happened, it blew off so much of my skin, and you know, it was deep. It was probably 1/8 of an inch deep, this just divot in my arm, and it smelled like hot dogs. I'll never forget the way it smelled. It smelled like hot dogs. W2BTK.
Yeah, W2BTK, W2VW. If you get torched like that, and you burn yourself and all that, and you smell it probably means you should change your diet.
I mean, yeah, I think I was still living with mom and dad at that point. That was like maybe a year or two before I moved out. So yeah, I don't know. Who knows? I was probably eating better back then.
Yeah, I would hope so. Well, what do you think about this path right now? You're multitasking. I hear you fine. I'm not missing a word, but man, it's never destructive at the moment.
Yeah, you're up and down like a lot of decibels is just up, down, and the path sucks right now, but you're holding strong. I'm still copying you just fine.
Yeah. Same here. No problem, but it isn't what it was. Well, I hear over the horizon radar coming in, so the wind is starting to open up toward the east. So we'll see what happens.
I can see somebody up on 2901 who's got a really big signal here. I'm not sure who it is.
Yeah, there's about 3 different guys that use that spot. Well, we'll just keep going here for a bit. I heard back, I sent Pete the first recording of you after you turned on. I don't know if he's working or not, but whatever. Let's see. Somebody put up a video. Somebody put up a video of W2VW. Why would anybody do that? And Ada found it. He's president of my fan club now, did you know that?
Ada really needs to, well, no, she doesn't need to do anything, but it would be fun if she got her license, you know? I'm sure, like, if you taught her how to key that stuff up, she came out here to talk to people, it'd be like, you know, it'd be like an ordeal. Everyone would probably want to talk to Ada.
Yeah, and I'd have to clean the shack. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, probably not worthwhile. But, yeah, well, she could just come and work under the control of W2VW, right? But, yeah, no, that's fun. I always notice when, you know, the female variety gets on the air, everybody comes out of the woodwork.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. With certain limitations, though. Yeah, a friend of mine was that I emailed back and forth with was saying, you know, we need to do that. We need to get all the ladies up at the ARRL headquarters and get on the air again like they did. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, well, try doing that a couple or 3 times, and basically, at the beginning it was okay, but it didn't seem to hold in there too well for whatever reason. I don't know. But why am I still transmitting? Because I don't have anything else to say in that sentence, Billy.
Yeah, I'm playing with the noise blanker a little bit. Not doing much. So, I have baseband on. I should really be more in tune with what settings I'm using, right?
You need to make a video of every setting you have, every meter reading, and every last thing. You need to do that.
Well, this is nice because everything I do with my mouse to manipulate the receiver is getting recorded right now, and real time while you're doing it, while I'm sitting here talking to you, doing multiple things, like, you know, I pick up on maybe 75% of what's going on here. And then, I mean, once you're off the air and watching the video later on, you pick up on everything. So just watching myself manipulate this receiver while I can really, really listen, that's where I do my learning, really. Like, in real time, you know, like I said, maybe it just, you can really dial in and listen to this later. So it's all recorded.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That works just the YouTube video. Wonderful. I'll keep my text off of the video, man. Yeah, I'm starting to hear some activity too, so the band is opening up across the pond. Yeah, if I had some footwear, you'll like this, Billy. I could tell you a story about some footwear. So we went up to the kids' house up there in Byram. It'll be 2 years ago on Thanksgiving, and was doing a turkey, deep frying a turkey outside, and I managed to step in some dog matter that was there. And I really got a good dose of it on my boots, and I took the boots off, I threw them in a plastic bag. The boots weren't that old; they were a really nice boots. So anyway, put them in a plastic bag, another bag, and a third bag, and bring them home. I threw them in the garage. And miracles, Billy. Last week, I took the boots out of the bag. I think I had knocked up as much stuff off as I could. But they were just like new again, like it never happened. So I've been wearing those boots. And they have like a special meaning for me now.
Man, wait, how?
Well, they're survivors. Ada's like, throw them out. And she bought me new boots, which I've worn out since. So they met the dog crap death treatment, and now you can't even tell anything happened to them.
Yeah, I've probably had similar experiences, not with dog do, but other things. That, like, I have a pair of old boots too, and I have a pair of new boots that I wear, and just some days I'm just like, man, and I just go for the old boots because at this point they're like wearing slippers. Like, they're not, it's a little bit of a safety issue, but like, it literally like wearing slippers on my feet, and those have probably stepped in way worse stuff than dog do. And I notice if I just ignore it and keep wearing them, it goes away naturally.
It's amazing, you know. I mean, they should make more things like that. I mean, that's very inspirational. You know, they should study all these government studies that we're cutting now because they don't do anything but make colleges make money on them. And they tell you, we need more funding for research. I really think they should study this. Things that get stuck in the tread of your shoes. That would be a good, worthwhile study, because, man, is there a lot of that in Washington.
Well, I mean, that's assuming that the average citizen has enough money to buy new boots that actually have tread left. Because, I mean, my old slipper boots, it's smooth like a drag slick on the bottom, you know? So if I step in something, it's not that big of a deal. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what I got going for me. The new boots still have anti-slip tread. The old ones are just, it's drag slicks, man, you know? It's like you drive over a pile of crap in your funny car, you know? It's like, you just do a burnout. That's all. And that's all I do all day on these jobs. Just spin my wheels and do burnouts. And, oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, wait, we don't have this tool. All right, well, I'm going to do this. Ah, crap, we don't have this. It's like, well, we need to get it done. It's like, okay, well, I'll just figure it out. You know, it's just doing burnouts all day.
Oh, I get that. I surely do. Yeah, you need to have a mental list of 10 different things that you have to do And another mental list of, is everything here that I need to do that? That's what makes you a good employee, man. And then when there's nothing to do or whatever, you just walk around the whole place and you watch what's going on there. You get a good look at everything. Because as we've discussed before, electricians on any job, especially industrial, the electricians know where all of the mistakes are. There's another word for mistakes, but I won't use. W2BTK from W2VW.
Ah, yes. W2VW, W2BTK. Yeah, exactly. The mistakes. And we just, dude, everything, it must have been since COVID, I've noticed like a real decline in everything. Dude, all these buildings. I sent you some pictures of some preliminary stuff I saw. I've seen a lot more than that walking around, but it's just all getting built. Just, am I allowed to say crap? Like it's just crap, you know? Everybody's buying the cheapest possible material, getting in there, trying to save hours, this and that, cutting corners. Like it's just, ugh. I haven't seen copper. Like we're pulling 750s for primaries of transformers and stuff. It's all aluminum, man. I'm just thinking to myself, like, dude, I know I'm putting no locks on every single connection, but like in 20 years, this crap's gonna blow up. It's gonna turn to dust and it's gonna blow up. You're gonna lose your ground by turning to dust, or you're neutral, or it's just, that's it. Maybe that's why they have 150 degrees Celsius temperature rise on these things now. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand that spec, and I haven't had it. It's in my mental list of things to check up, is how do they specify newer transformer temperature delta that's allowable? Because, man, all the ones I had were 55 Celsius rise. And the first transformer I saw that wasn't spec like that, there were a pair of them that they put in the new World Trade Center, One World Trade, when they rebuilt it for the first UHF TV transmitter they put back in there. They were building in 2017. They had two transformers, and it was going to hold the whole job up because nobody had them. And Hammond Manufacturing, who makes like enclosures, and they bought the Peter Dahl line and a bunch of other stuff. And Fred Hammond, VE3HC, used to get on 75 meter AM with a Johnson 500. I used to talk to him in the late 80s. Anyway, they have a museum up there. But anyway, Hammond was able to supply these transformers that they were spec'd for higher efficiency than the rest of whatever you'd be building in Lower Manhattan spec. They had a tighter spec because the building was owned by, I think, the Port Authority or whatever. It was some thing, you know, where nobody expected this to be a problem. All they did was they were bringing the 480 down to, I think, 380, because they use European power supply switching silicon devices, and it's meant to run off the mains that they have over there. So they had to have these two transformers, and they were able to get them from Hammond, which was really cool. But they didn't spec it the same way. I have a picture of the nameplate. I dig it up and send it to you and see. It's the first ones I saw that didn't have the 55 degree delta. And man, did they ever rise 55 degrees Celsius, man. Ooh. They ran warm. It's like, what a waste of power.
Yeah. But at least those sound like really good transformers. I mean, Hammond? The stuff we get now, it's, well, all the ones I showed you, those are Eaton. E-A-T-O-N brand transformers. And Eaton, like, I know they make a lot of electrical panels and stuff like that. But, well, they make everything. They're one of the cheaper options, you know. You almost never see a square D panel anymore. I don't know. I think maybe they were figuring in this place that the load that transformer is capable of handling is they're never going to get anywhere close to it. I really don't know, but you know, just with everything else, like even up to the engineers that design all this stuff, dude, they don't do their jobs, you know, and they just come in and move everything after the fact. Like they had these big holes in the floor for these giant, like 20, 30-foot machines to go up through all the levels of this building. They're making medical tubing in this place. And like these machines process it. It goes up through all the floors, and we have these squares cut out of the floor. Anyway, they did all that and brought the machines in, installed them, and we had our transformers exactly where they told us to disconnect and everything. Now they put it in there. It was all piped in, everything. They just pushed the transformers out of the way till they couldn't push on them anymore because the grounds were holding them up and our conduits were installed. So everything is running out of plumb with these conduits. Everything's moved around. They put something right in front of the disconnect where the disconnect is spec'd shown to be there, right? And there's no working room in front of it. You got to walk over this giant pit that goes through a couple floors to stand there and turn it on. Like, oh, we'll just move it. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. It's already in, wired, like ready to get turned on. Yeah, no problem. We'll just do it for free, you know? It just, because the engineer couldn't be bothered to do a good job of laying this out, knowing what the hell he's doing, knowing what's coming in there. Just like, oh yeah, just move the transformers closer together. And you know, the other thing, I'm looking like, dude, like, what? This whole thing is jammed in. Luckily you have a cool inspector who understands what's going on here. And he's like, yeah, well, you know, I'll give you a CO, whatever. You know, it's like, this sucks. Like, yeah, this sucks, dude. He's like, I don't really see anything you could do here. The freaking engineer. Freak. F-R-E-A-K. I could say that, right? W2BTK.
You just did. Well, doesn't the company or the customer that you guys are working for have a project manager to oversee this stuff? Or do they just have like a general contractor who's working for the construction company? I mean, don't they have any project management, like a guy that walks around and says, what are you doing? What are you doing? You can't do that. What are you doing?
Absolutely not. Is the guy's a GC and he can't even coordinate stuff between the trades, you know? Like, it just, you can't believe anything he says. It's like, oh, yeah, you guys are down in the elevator shaft on Thursday. You know, it's like, okay, Thursday shows up, we're in the elevator. No, you know, we're going to have the masons still in here today, you know, like, blah, blah, blah. We still haven't done any work in there. And, like, we were scheduled for Thursday. We had all, whatever. And then the project, that's like the GC guy, the project manager from the customer. I've seen him come in and they walk in there and their eyes open up wide. They have no idea what they're looking at. You know, it's like, oh, wow. Wow, look, there's some transform. Oh, wow. Like, look at this, you know. And then the engineer comes. He's like, oh, you know, I designed all of this. And it's just moving stuff around, changing the design on the fly. Like, just like, dude, like, okay, contractually, we gave you what was in the contract. Now you want to change all this stuff and, like, that's part of the contract? No, dude, but it just sucks. And the answer is no. Nobody walks around and does that. Everything's getting cheated. You know, our copper lightning protection bonding got bonded to a piece of aluminum hanging out of the pad there. And the guy's like, that's not aluminum, is it? Like, it's like, oh, the foreman's like, no, it's tinned copper. It's got tinning on it, it's copper. And he cuts off a piece and shows him that it's aluminum and makes like the shh motion. You know, it's just everything, dude.
That's horrible. They need a project manager. I guess that things have come full circle in construction, because I remember back when you didn't typically have a project manager. It was like an extra guy there, and when they first started showing up, you know, they'd have like, I don't know if they were trade school guys or real engineers or whatever, but these guys they had a way about them. Because most of their job is giving people bad news. So nobody wanted to see them, but they'd be like, oh, hey, how are you? Would you like a coffee? As you're putting hemlock in the coffee, you know? Like they did to Socrates. Anyway, W2 very weak here. Never say 4ID or ever say QSL. Ever.
Yeah. I've been known to say QSL every once in a while, but not in normal conversation.
Yeah, it's a tough habit to break because a lot of new guys are doing that. It's not even new guys anymore. There's guys that have been around. They've been licensed for 20 years. They get on the air. QSL. I ran into some guys up here, which is great to run into new people, but it was like they're trying to run off of a battery, and they need to conserve electricity, or they're driving like a Tesla. And now I'm saying like all the time. That's because I'm talking to you, Billy. They're driving a Tesla, and they're trying to conserve. You know, you ever notice how a Tesla, I mean, those things will rip holes in the ground. They've got so much power, and they'll fly. You would think everybody with one of those would want to take off as hard as they could out of every stop sign just for the sheer fun. But no, most of them drive. That's how you can tell if somebody has stolen one. Most of them drive like little old ladies where they don't make any sudden changes, like having an egg underneath your accelerator foot so that they can conserve electricity because the heads-up display is telling you you're wasting power. So these guys get on the air and they transmit as fast as possible, and the guy will give his call sign really quickly, like never phonetic. Can't do it phonetic. And if you do use phonetics, you use cutesy phonetics. There aren't real phonetics. Like, you know, mountain, sugar, diaphragm, or something stupid like that. Or a suffix. And then they won't say, like, your name, or okay, or something indicating that they're breaking back over to you. So you never know when they stop transmitting because you can't hear them in the first place.
Yeah, very good. You're still S8. Oh, here in my receive QSL is W2BTK.
That was 3 times longer than what I got here the other day. And it's okay, people are excited. They're trying out AM for the first time. But if you've got a marginal signal, the guy that's trying to hear you, let them get used to how you sound, maybe tune it around a little bit. You're trying to dodge some noises. And you transmit more than 3 seconds. Man, I sound like one of those old guys that used to be on when I first got on.
I think you should round up all the guys who, you know, they're operating like that. Maybe they just don't know. And we should get them in a nice conversation out here with Timmy, HLR. And they can learn from the pros how you do a transmission.
Well, that might be taking it just a wee bit too far, Billy.
Well, I figured they'll learn from Timmy, right? And then they can just dial it back a little from there, you know, a couple notches, and then they'll be in just like the right spot.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I haven't spoken with Timmy in a while now. Since the election.
Yeah, there's a little button heads with some of the political stuff, but I try not to talk about that. I haven't talked with Timmy in a while either. It'd be a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, I remember the first time I spoke with Timmy on a 10-meter AM. This little Manalp, and man, that was a blast. I had 6 elements, and I was aimed at Europe. We used to talk to EL6 Sierra X-Ray. We would open up the band every day on AM. Forget what we used to transmit. It was something in an amplifier. He had a signal. He was using a Japan Radio Corporation 525, which I think is the receiver. You know, I didn't know, but the guy was like a famous DXer. A cool dude. Well, anyway, I was aiming at him and I've been talking to him, and all of a sudden I hear Timmy's voice. Just, you know, the band kind of, people moved off wherever I was monitoring, which was probably 21.00. They all moved off. I hear Timmy talking, and I'm like, wow, it's Timmy! And so I'm calling him. I was using a Ranger. Pretty much just fattened up audio Ranger with, I think I had an audio compressor, like a really cheapy one, with 2 tubes in it. So I had an SP221 at the time. I flipped it on, and I underloaded the Ranger to drop the drive down, which is the really wrong way to do it. But anyway, he heard me with that, and I was able to talk to him, which was so cool, talking to somebody, you know, only 500 miles away on 10 meter AM for the first time.
Yeah, man, that's the long distance local. I think that's pretty cool. This antenna seems to do well with that kind of stuff. I mean, it's for ha-has. You could probably, well, actually, no. I can't use Big Blue with the vertical. It's just not quite there, but, yeah, I don't know. It's pretty wacky. I got distracted. I had a brain fart. What was I saying? W2BTK.
W2 very weak. You were talking about burning up your vertical.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the other reason I really can't use the vertical. Probably melt that thing. But I think they make a version of this that instead of, I think mine's my insulator's plastic, or maybe it's Delran, but they make a version that's Teflon, and I'm sure that that would probably be okay.
Yeah, you need conductor size. That's what you need. The other thing is, do you know how long the actual vertical stick is on that?
Not exactly. I really don't. I think I set it up for whatever parameters, or very close to whatever parameters that Mako said to do it, so I could look that up, and I'm probably right there. But I did give it a fatter conductor, you know, up there in the sky, going from, you know, feeding that thing basically onto that coil they got up there. I don't know, I think it's a piece of number 10 or something.
Yeah, that's probably the secret for success. That and surface area where everything meets everything else. Yeah, well, the reason I'm asking you that is you need to see if it is longer than 0.64 of a wavelength up here. If it is, then don't even waste your time trying to use it, because it'll work, but you're going to bring that very, very high angle lobe in. But if it's 60.64 or shorter, it'll work great. You know, any effort you do to match it. But I mean, you've already got it working so well, you may not want to mess with it. This seems to work fine. I mean, what you got going on here is you really couldn't want any more than this, except maybe to, you know, get your efficiencies up a little bit with the transmit chain, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the transmit chain is just kind of loafing along here. Looks like the carrier power has drifted up about 30 watts. And that's okay. It always does that. But I have no problem using this antenna. I hear, honestly, I think this works better. I might have, aside from real DX, like those guys over the pond yesterday, I switched from this end. Oh wait, no, I don't have an accurate measurement for that, because like I said, I didn't tune the horizontal correctly yesterday when I was trying. I forgot to jump out the inductors, so it was like 15 to 1. And it's no wonder why everyone was coming in better on the vertical, right?
Yeah, when you told me that, I was kind of taken aback, because based on the the load that you've got here, I was figuring that the complement to this load is going to be, maybe northern Italy or something. That was my guess. So when you told me that, but now you're telling me your test was invalid because you forgot one step in the matching process. So that's good news.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess the point is this antenna is probably the best all-around 10-meter antenna I have because, I can talk to you, I can talk to DX and everything, and it seems like with the vertical, I can really only get out there to the DX stations.
Yeah, you need to A-B it, and if you find that your transmit is great on what you've got now, it's really hard to A-B it on transmit because of what you're doing there. But on receive, if you find the verticals always working better than this, then you may want to just set up so that you can switch antennas from transmit to receive. Yes. More things to go wrong. W2 very weak.
Yeah, I mean that's not too hard to do, but I don't think I have beefy enough coaxial relays to get that done. My only beefy coaxial relay is the Jennings that I use for my main TR, so that I can run the Harris through it. I guess I could I'd really have to reconfigure stuff to do that. If I had another beefy coaxial relay, it'd be really easy. But I mean, I guess I could use like a Jennings relay, but I'd really like to just have a coaxial relay for something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if I sent you a picture of the one I made. I just got a mini box and put in a Jennings, whatever it is, RJ1 or whatever the number is, but it came from Max Gain. And I put all 7/16 female connectors on it. And I'm going through that right now as we speak. So I can just shut off I've got a bench power supply and it's engaged right now. And when I shut off the bench power supply after 3 seconds and the capacitors empty out, it puts me over on the wire antenna. So what I did with that was I jammed a 30 or 25 picofarad capacitor between the case and the common on the input, if you will. And that flattened out the little discontinuity that you get from running through the relay and all the wiring up on 10 meters, so that it's just as good, at least on 10 meters, as not having the thing there in the first place. That's the secret.
Well, yeah, I could definitely do something like that. That would be pretty cool. I wouldn't even have to change too much. Yeah, no, that'd be pretty easy for me, honestly. Just have to build it, get it on it. Yeah, no, I could probably do that easily, and then I would be able to A/B antenna to antenna, but it could get me in trouble here because, I don't have a good match on the vertical here.
Yeah, well, that's where the coaxial dynamics, reflected power alarm, and relay interlock system would come into play.
Yes, that deafening beep.
Yeah, that's better than just having your reflected power go all the way to the end and you blew up your slug, along with something else.
Yeah, no, I have everything set. I cannot exceed 30 watts of reflected power or else it just dumps.
Yeah, that's a pretty good number. That's a pretty good number. We had that in line on the RF channel 4 WNBC Larcan transmitter. that went in after the World Trade Center went down, that they stuck in the Empire State Building, had that whole system there. I think there were 6 of those coaxial dynamics Watchman head units there. And believe it or not, one of them was reading almost no reflected power, which was normal. And one day I happened to turn out the lights. And when I turned out the lights, I could see this tiny little blue flashing light coming out of the feed line on that transmitter. And sure enough, there was a bullet, you know, in the copper feed line, those silver-plated bullets. There was a bullet that had heated up. I guess it wasn't making a good connection. It was silver-plated, plugged into regular copper pipe, and it was arcing away in there. And that coaxial dynamics thing, it must have not ever been set up right. It didn't shut anything off at all, and it had been running like that for a while. And I was flipping out because I didn't have a backup running at that time. And I had to make arrangements to come back there. I think I went home and took a nap, and then I came back that night, ripped it apart, and fixed it.
Man, that's scary. Were you able to get the bullet out of there? It welded itself.
No, I pulled the whole thing out, cleaned the heck out of it, and bent it a little so it was making a better contact. A new bullet. I had spare stuff. And it held up until the analog shut down in June of 2009, where we pulled it all apart. And of course, I pulled it apart and looked, and it was just like new. So it ran, I guess at that point, it was probably another 2 years.
Oh, well, there you go. Bend the bullet. Dig into that copper. Dude, that's a cool job you had, you know? You definitely have to be, like, the man to do stuff like that. But it's still a cool job. I mean, I'm sure it's really stressful, but it sounds like there's an element of fun there. I don't know. My Watchman meter, I mean, dude, like, I wouldn't be able to do this stuff without that. You know how many times that reflected power cutoff has saved my butt, you know? And then there's a forward power cutoff too, but on this Watchman, I guess I'd have to mess with it. It doesn't work well, so I don't use the forward power cutout. It's just open. You can do as many watts as you want until you blow up. But the reflected, yeah, that works very well. Very, very well.
You hear that burst of over-the-horizon radar?
While I'm transmitting, I can't hear nothing because it cuts out my RX there.
Yeah, there was about a second and a half of it when you went over to receive, but maybe your receiver takes a tiny bit of time to recover.
Yeah, I designed it to be about a second. When I unkey, the TR relay doesn't do anything for about a second after I unkey, so that I can, like, you know, and nothing bad happens.
Every transmitter I have to be to do this, or I'm not happy.
Yes, I know what that's like.
Exactly like that. We can do that AM operation. It's really silly.
Well, your QRO, you're good.
Yeah, it's peak 1,500 watts going on and off. No problem. I guess Collins knew what they were doing when they designed this amp, I think, maybe.
Yup. And the Ape Man knew what he was doing when he designed this one, and then taught me how to carry on that design into the rest of the elements of my station.
Yeah, W2BTK, W2VW. You're east of, what's the name of that town? Phillipsburg, east of Phillipsburg. Yeah, and I'm an hour's drive from Philadelphia.
And it's working well. My one listening, my FN20LR grid square over here. I can remember that really easy because it's ELR, you know. FN20 is a huge area, but I just remember ELR. That's where I am.
Roger on the FN20LR. Well, I'm Fox Mike 29 center tap, FM29CT. And when I lived in Beechwood, I was FM29VW.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Yep. So I'll take center tap. Well, I'm not using the center tap of anything here right now. There's no center tapped anything at all, except, let's see, maybe the cathode return in the amp. Other than that, there's no center taps being used.
To tell you the truth, I don't think I'm using any center taps in here either. Maybe something inside the Viking, but I mean, that's not stuff that I set up. It's just stock Viking. But yeah, that was more, last time I used center taps and stuff was when I was messing around with 6-meter equipment.
Yeah. Center taps scare me because I'm always thinking in terms of the power supply that you're running and I'm running on my 160 amp. It's very inspirational, Billy. I have in front of me the coil, 8-track copper, I guess it is, and a piece of brass. I don't think the diameter is large enough, though. I need to find something brass. I've got some, what are they, 1 5/8? Maybe they're larger than that. No, they're larger than that. They're 2 and something hardline connectors that are made out of brass. I'm thinking that would be a good slug. And what I want to do, I made the space in the amplifier deck to do this someday. I'm thinking it's someday, Billy. So the other thing I'm looking for is some of those threaded Teflon pieces of hardware that I took out of the UHF TV transmitter cavities. And I could use that as a lead screw to drive the brass slug in and out of the coil. And I know I can get that coil to resonate up here. And I'd have to use probably a relay, another relay. I have it. And that would get me on 10 meters with the homebrew amp. That would be just wonderful, Billy.
That would be wonderful. I'd like to hear you on OB out here. And you really got to ditch that that coaxial relay you got in there. I got to get you this Jennings Stuck relay.
Well, yeah, I'm not using anything that's commercial for out to the antenna right now. Every switch I have on that part of the system is large enough that I don't have to worry about it.
Well, that's good. I just don't have any of that stuff. I just do manual plumbing. You know, I've got my line section there that has to be used with everything because that has the Watchman reflected power cutout on it. So that has to be in line. So I just plumb everything around until it's where I need to be. I'd love to have some switches though. Like I said, I could set that up pretty easy. But yeah, that's going to be nice. Just another brain fart. You know, this medication really sucks. I miss my slow sodium channels, but when those things are open, my brain just goes too crazy, I guess. So I suppose I'll just have to get used to, you know, not having all of the communication channels in my brain active.
Well, there's a lot of us out here that operate like that.
Yeah. Yeah, just I'll fit right in. It just sucks, man. I watch videos of myself from like doing those old live streams, and I'm just spitting this stuff out like I know it. It's just right there. I'm like, oh yeah, this, that, the other thing. Blah, 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 blah. Dude, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, you got to fight it, Billy. What you're doing, hooking up all that stuff and making it work, even when you have a bad day, that's how you fight that.
Yeah, exactly. Just have to stay active. I was off the air for a little too long, and then coupled with the fact that I had these problems and started taking medication, like there was a point in time when I was on the other medication, you remember, I did not know how to use this station. I was honestly afraid to walk in there and try.
Yeah, well, you bounce back, and I guess you're holding your own, and the meds work and everything. Yeah, never argue with results, but yeah, you got to keep using it. If you give up, then man, you could get on one of those nets on 3885 from Foreland then.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, if I ever have to resort to that, it would make me sad. But I'm definitely not as like sharp as I was before all this happened. It just, I guess it's something to get used to. I'm still me. It's still my brain. I don't have the available firepower anymore, but I'll get used to it. It's only been a little while.
Yeah, W2BTK from W2VW. Yeah, well, I think you're doing okay considering where you were. You just gotta, you know, at the end of the week, you get out your human balance sheet and you start figuring out, okay, was this a plus? All right. Was this a minus? Okay, what am I going to do next week? And you keep on going.
The one thing I've noticed, though, from, you know, being on medication is, dude, I'm a lot more relaxed. My anxiety is in check. I can sit here and deal with stuff. I can talk to people who are irritating me and not have to, it just doesn't get to me, you know, which is good. That's something that I needed desperately. So that's all very much more in check, and I think my personality is a little bit more easier to deal with, is the way I would put it. So there's definitely a lot of pluses, you know. It's doing its job, its main job that it's supposed to be doing, you know. So the side effects definitely suck, you know, clumsy movements, dizziness, a little bit of double vision, but it's really not that bad. I just feel like I'm a little bit drunk all the time, which is, I don't know. Now that's one of the things that the main problem with this medication is that people commit suicide when they're on it, and I think that's because they just can't handle feeling a little bit inebriated all the time, you know. And that's something that, you know, it is a little weird, but I can deal with that, you know. It doesn't make me feel any particular way.
Yeah, well, you know that when you're feeling weird, it's because of the meds, so that's good. Saves money on vodka. We used to have a guy that, very brilliant, PhD, EE. I think he was even involved in the design of the proton gun medical device. And he designed some of the meat and potatoes parts of the big IoT transmitters, and he has this disease. It's called ataxia, and it's a progressive disease, and he always said someday it's going to put him in a wheelchair. Anyway, he had to have a card that he carried along with him in case he got pulled over, because the way he walked and the way that he spoke made it look like he was drunk. I mean, it mimics being drunk. So I got to work with him. Very, very, very smart guy. I got to work with him a lot, so I've seen those symptoms with people. He actually got the job sweeping the antenna system when they rebuilt it at One World Trade back in 2016 and 17 and 18. And he had to like lift weights and stuff before he could climb up the tower. He had to work really hard to get in shape so that he could endure. You want to talk about a tough job. I mean, those guys, you could only climb up there. You could only work for maybe a couple hours a day under any circumstances. And there you got grounded way more than Empire. I don't know why, but if the wind blew over 20 miles an hour, they weren't allowed to climb. So he was doing okay with that toward the end when I was there. I'm very familiar with those symptoms.
Yeah, exactly. Ataxia. And that's one of the side effects of this medication. Just not quite that bad, but I definitely have clumsier movements than I did before I started taking this stuff, which, I'm kind of getting used to. It's just like if I move fast, like if I grab something and try to put it on the table, like I miss a little bit. Like I have to just concentrate a little more. And then ataxia, and what is it, diplopia or something with a D, like with the lope in it, and that's the double vision, I think, which I don't get like double vision, but I do see like these, it's like kind of black masses or something like a shadow in the corner of my vision. It's kind of weird. I call it the shadow monster. I'll just see him out of the corner of my eye, or startle me a little bit, like there's an entity, just a black shadowy entity, and then I look and it disappears,
Oh man, well at least you know what it is. It's kind of like you're changing into a werewolf.
Yeah. But I mean, this is stuff I can deal with and get used to. It's a lot better than the alternative because, climbing ladders, driving cars, going up in lifts, working in hot panels, just I can deal with the little bit of side effects. It's just the primary thing that it's stopping, I would not be able to deal with and would probably end me at some point.
Yeah, you'd wake up like Dougie.
Poor Dougie. But yeah, it's all good. I can deal with it. It's not, the other medication it messed with a lot more than just sodium channels. It was shutting down many portions of the brain, and it was, dude, I was like borderline psychotic on that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's good you found something that works. That's great. That's good news, because that's very scary when you're fighting with drugs that make you do crazy things. And all the triggers, I think, probably. Sometimes you got to watch out for bright lights and loud sounds from nowhere and stuff like that, I would imagine.
Yeah, that stuff doesn't bother me too much. I mean, I get a little bit triggered from it. The loud sounds, mostly. But I think that's mostly because of the way that I've taught my brain to listen to things, like with a lot more detail and nuance. So something that a normal person can just tune out, like noise, I'm like analyzing the noise, you know, and I can't hear it and function at the same time sometimes. But I don't think that's the condition as much as it is just, I mean, honestly, that sounds like ASD, like autism.
I don't know. I don't know enough about that. Well, I think there were a lot of people that were autistic that were never diagnosed with it and outgrew it or learned how to become a functional autistic.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that, well, they say, you know, ASD is a spectrum. You can be just a little bit, you could be a lot, you know. So I think there's many people who are that way and have learned how to act. Like you know, it's not natural. Like you go out into a social situation and you don't know what the hell to do, and you just kind of observe everyone and you learn how to interact that way without being weird, you know?
Yeah. And you know, the fun thing is you start picking up that you're not the only one that's doing that. Like you see extroverted people, and a certain percentage of extroverts are really functional introverts, and they're trying really hard.
I call it neurotypical and neurodivergent behavior, you know?
Yeah, that's good enough. You know what you need is some research money.
I think that there's a lot of research that's done on that. Just people don't really look it up on neurodivergent behavior in people. It's like definitely two classes of people. There's neurotypical, you know, who have a really easy time living, socializing, doing stuff. And then there's neurodivergent who just kind of like in a different place, and they don't naturally assimilate into that societal, you know, like thing. They have to learn it, and it's a learned behavior for them. It's not natural.
Yeah, well, who wants to fit in with general society? I mean, I can't even imagine what that would be like.
Well, you're definitely neurodivergent, Dave.
Yeah. Oh, no question about that. This is not news.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I look at things, you know. I could get along with anybody, honestly, a lot easier now on this medication, but it's just how you look at it. Some people have more intuition than other people, you know, and that may be a part of that, but that's mostly, I think, what has to do with your pineal gland, which most people don't really have one. It's just a straight up bone by now. It gets calcified and this and that. It doesn't work like a gland anymore, but people who use more of that just have more feeling and intuition and this and that, and like, you know, you can just look at somebody, look at their eyes, and you know what's going on, you know, rather than having to ask them. Stuff like that.
Yeah. W2BTK, this is W2 Very Weak.
W2VW from W2BTK. This is really nice. The band kind of settled down right around when you said it'd probably be starting to get better. Very, I mean, it's not up and down so much now. It's chilling here on 27,975 AM.
27,975? Is that where we are? Uh-oh.
Yeah, baby. No, it's 28,975. I just thought that would be fun to say.
Yeah, you were a little slicker there. I kind of figured that was on purpose.
Well, it kind of wasn't. I'm so used to saying, I'm not even going to say it, but that certain channel 27.5 on your AM dial.
Yeah, man. Well, I tuned around with the sub-receiver, and I am hearing some strong SSB from across the pond, but I don't hear anybody in the AM area at the moment.
I'm not seeing very much on my fish finder here. I'm only monitoring up to 2904.
Yeah, let's see if I can bring Hack Green up and see if we're making it there.
Check. Europe. Hack Green. Hello. W2BTK. See how my signal is over across the pond.
Yeah, well, I've got a little line there, so it's not, at least into that locale, there's not enough making it across at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm set up for that, but I'll see where I'm at. What do I have over there in Hack 'em Up Green?
Actually, what I was looking at is a birdie. 50, 60, 70. I've got the slightest little carrier there that you can maybe just see that it's so slight that if I were sending CW, I wouldn't be able to read it. Let me see what you're doing.
W2BTK, and I'm just drifting down in frequency, and I'm not fixing it, and I think that's okay, because I know what I'm running over here, and I understand it's kind of difficult and not worth it to go walk in there and miss what people are saying and tune around. I bet you hear me fine, Dave.
Yeah. I was able to actually see that your carrier was slightly down frequency, maybe a kilohertz and a half from mine. I'm not sure. I can't tell. And yeah, we're about neck and neck at the moment there.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Man, I'm really surprised that this doublet is working like this up here.
Yeah, well, I've been telling you to try it for years.
I think I did try it at one point. It's just we weren't coming up here to talk very much, and I was, down in the wasteland having all my fun.
Yeah, whatever. Hey, you got it working now, right?
Well, now's a pretty good time to have it working.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of fun to be had here when the band opens. Well, I don't know why the heck the band isn't like it was yesterday, but I can tell you the one clue. It seems to be a clue with propagation is that late at night, VK and ZL were coming in really well here, even pointed at Europe, because I don't have a way to move this antenna right now, more than just a little bit. And JA was very loud, and there were actually a number of Chinese stations in Indonesia were coming in. And I've noticed that when you get that really super long haul stuff, after that goes away, there's nothing. So this may be the post super long haul. And the other clue was that Europe dropped out completely yesterday at maybe maybe 1800 Zoomies, something like that. It just died.
You just went down into a big old fade, but you can hear me. That's a good sign that we're able to do this well in what might be the the low point or the the crappy conditions of this band.
Oh yeah, this is nothing to sneeze at. This is really an extended path. This is way harder than somebody in LeBold.
WA7, did you say Alpha Mike India?
QSL. Yeah, I just wanted to see if you guys were copying. There's some days that we're able to copy you pretty well from southeast Idaho.
Yeah, copy on Idaho. You're doing well here in New Jersey. And Dave, W2VW, is also on frequency. He's down near the Mason-Dixon line. So this is W2BTK. Yeah, copy on 40 watts. It's doing well. You're kind of down in the noise, but the band seems to be a little bit uncooperative right now. I'm sure you'll come up, but yeah, you're doing great here in the receiver. I'm running a live stream on YouTube of this, so you can actually see later your signal strength, and you can see the waterfall, how you're coming in here in my receive. And I posted that on QRZ in the AM Activity Now thread, if you're familiar with that. I'm kind of interested to see how well Dave is hearing you, so let's see, W2BTK.
Yeah, I am just able to tell that he's there. He's under the noise here on both antennas. If I had the wire antenna matched here, I could work them, but nope, not doing it, Billy.
All right, yeah, copy. But that's excellent. We're hearing you. Hopefully you heard the YouTube comment, because that might be fun for you to see. Yeah, cool. So Dave, he's copying you about a S5, S6. He got a little bit more on me out there in Idaho, but man, yeah, that's some decent conditions. I'm sure it can only get better from here.
Yeah, okay. Well, he's hearing me. I'm not really wacky. Maybe he's hearing me on backscatter, not really sure, but very interesting. I'm surprised at any signal going in his direction from here. So that's thanks for the report. W2 very weak.
right. Well, you fizzled out there a little toward the end, and we don't have the best band conditions here, but I think it's a W7AMI from W2BTK. Very good, man. Go get done what you need to get done. And again, if you want to check this out, the recording will be, if you search YouTube for 631NJ, the live stream should come up, or like I said, in the AM Activity Now thread on QRZ, you'll find the link. But very good. We're about 1 hour and 40 minutes into the recording for a reference. But good fun. Awesome catching you out here. And 7-3 from W2BTK. Well, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, that's the first of tons more. I gotta take a break here, Billy. I don't know, you gonna be around later?
Yeah, I could fire up a little later. It's getting a little hot in here. I might go hang out outside. I know Boo Boo wants to go sit on the porch, so probably a good time to wrap up this QSO in the live stream for a moment here. But yeah, I'll be around later. Send me a text or call me, whatever, and should be able to fire all this stuff right back up. So, yeah, that sounds good. It'll take a little break. So, W2VW from W2BTK.
Yeah, okay. I almost hate to flake out on getting on 160 tonight, but yeah, I think we'll just get on here instead. Now that it works. All right, great. A lot of fun, Billy. Say hi to Boo Boo for me, and we'll talk to you later on, possibly. But leave 2900 on and monitor it. You know, you might find something really fun coming in there. You're going to have 4 major lobes at least. So, Saventi Trace, you good BXOM. W2BTK, this is W2 Very Weak.
5 minutes of 73 W2BTK.
To yourself.